Good evening, everybody, and those watching at home on YouTube. Welcome to the June 2021 edition of the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors monthly meeting. First up will be invocation by Supervisor Martel, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And before after the invocation, I don't know if anybody's heard, but Bill Stiefvater, our former veteran service officer, passed away this past weekend. So I'd like to have a moment of silence for him after Supervisor Martel. Please. Everybody rise.
God of peace, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Even if we have different opinions, give us unity of spirit. Help us to each listen politely as others share their point of view. Help us to work as a unified team in combining ideas for the greater outcome. Help us to work as a whole, rather than as individuals. May we have a spirit of camaraderie in this room and work together on our shared mission of making Manitowoc County a better place for all of us who are blessed enough to live here. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Supervisor Martel. Roll call is going around. 23 members are present. Supervisors Niles and Sikowitz are excused for this evening. Next up is consideration and correction of our minutes from our May 18th, 2021 County Board meeting. Motion by Supervisor Benke, second by Supervisor Ballman to approve those minutes. Any discussion on the motion? See none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Additions or deletions to the agenda, I'll turn it over to County Clerk Jessica Backus.
Under Roman numeral number 7, reports, number 2, County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer and County Board Chair Jim Bry, proclamation honoring the Michigan Girls Varsity Basketball Team Division IV State Champions has been added to the agenda.
Thank you very much, Jessica. And if it's all right with the County Board as well, I'm going to reverse those orders. We'll have the proclamation first, followed by the Expo report. So a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Motion by Supervisor Aulick, seconded by Supervisor Engelbrecht. Discussion on the motion. See none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried, and the agenda is approved. Thank you. I'm going to go down to the podium quickly. As I mentioned, we've been trying to get the Michigan girls high school basketball team. As you know, they won the state championship this past winter. They're very busy too. They, graduation. I know they're involved with softball and stuff. I know Supervisor Marsh, who used to work at the Michigan high school, had them come in tonight. We were all set, so I don't know what happened. I hope everything's all right. But we're going to read the proclamation tonight, and we'll make sure we'll get the proclamation out to them because they certainly deserved it. In this busy world, and I understand what's going on, as my daughter just graduated high school too this past weekend, or I should say last Friday, but onward and upward to work and other activities. So we're getting back to normal, and it's good. It's a good feeling, but sometimes it gets a little bit busy. But anyways, we do have the proclamation honoring the Michigan girls varsity basketball team Division State 4 champions. Whereas, upon defeating Mineral Point High School with a nail-biting 70-66 victory at the Lacrosse Center in La Crosse, the Michigan girls varsity basketball team was crowned the 2021 WIAA State Girls Basketball Division IV champions. And whereas, under the expert leadership and guidance of head coach Mike Garceau and assistant coaches Scott Willems and Val Rosenau, the girls basketball team took home the first ever state championship for Michigan High School. And whereas, with an overall record of 20-2 and a 19-game winning streak, the dedicated and talented team of Desiree Kleiman, Melissa Wadachek, Kaylee Tulaka, Allie McArdle, Caitlin Callahan, Madeline Willems, Abby Garceau, Cora Stadola, Callie Krieger, Grace Willems, Kylie Schmidt, and Lacey Tauschik had a dream season after finding the right chemistry during a once-in-a-century pandemic. And whereas the Michigan girls varsity basketball team, known for their ability to adapt quickly to an opponent and tenacious defense pressures, along with the individual skills and talent, formed a cohesive team that brought distinction and recognition to Manitowoc County and Michigan High School. Now, therefore, Manitowoc County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer, Manitowoc County Board Chair Jim Bry, and the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors hereby commends the Michigan fans, parents, coaches, and the Michigan girls varsity basketball team for their hard work and dedication to excellence. Job well done, Michigan girls varsity basketball team. So, round of applause to them. Like I mentioned, we'll make sure we'll get the plaque out to the Michigan, but if we do hear differently, if they want to show up, I'm certainly welcome if they want to come back just to say hi or something, we'll certainly have them. So. All right, next up we have the Public Works Director, Jerry Neuser, along with Expo Facility Manager, Janelle Shelton, the annual Expo Facility Report. And we also have, who is also, well, I guess I'll do a little announcement right now, but we had the ice cream courtesy of the Public Works Department, and I know Festival Foods actually donated it. So we had Linda Lupke again as our reigning fairest of the fair. She's also here tonight. She can say a few words if she wants to too as well. So, all right, enough talking by me. It's your turn.
Thank you, everybody. Back again for another update on Expo activities from the prior year. As the chairman introduced us, again, we have Lydia Lubke, our fairest of the fair. We have Tanya Dvorak with us, an Expo board member, and Janelle Shelton, the facilities manager for the Expo. Every month, the county board receives the finance director's financial report on Expo operations and the Expo Special Revenue Fund. It's no surprise that 2020 was a challenging year for the Expo with shutdowns and everything that happened in the pandemic. We were affected as much as any facility. We're a mass gathering facility, and we just couldn't do that. So what I'm going to explain is the Special Revenue Fund. You get this report every month, and basically we have one balance sheet that we break down into 4 activities. We have the Expo activities, which accounts for all the events held at the Expo, which excludes the county fair and the ice center. Revenues and expenses go into that activity. We have the county fair itself, which we account for separately, and again, revenues and expenses associated with the county fair. There's the Expo maintenance and improvements, which is basically an expense fund. That's where we fund all of our capital improvements, and the only revenue that goes in there would be if we get a donation, or if we have a sale of property, or if there would be an insurance settlement of some type. Otherwise, it's just an expense fund. And lastly, we have the ice center, which we account for separately. Now, all of these are on one balance sheet, and again, you get that report every month. So when we look at the 2020 results, it goes back to what I had mentioned about no surprise and COVID and how it affected us. And as you look at the activities, you'll see a loss in each column. Now, we typically do have losses in most of them. The Expo activities where we garner rental income, but we also pay staff labor, we pay utilities, we pay for maintenance supplies. Revenue from renting the grounds never covers that totally, but with almost no revenue last year, it was a significant loss. The county fair is always a moneymaker. The only thing that would stop that would be a week of rain. But usually that helps balance the books, or does balance the books. Well, last year we had to make the decision, as did almost every other county in the state and the nation, of no county fair. The Expo maintenance and improvements loss there of 172 looks like a loss, but again, that was money that was budgeted for capital improvements out of the land sale funds. And again, that is always an expense account. And Ice Center is the bright spot in the year, in that the two user groups that use our Ice Center, which is the Hockey Association and the Figure Skating Association, both were able to safely put on their seasons. So we garnered their rental income and showed a profit there. So total revenues over expenses, again, was a loss of $363,000, but keep in mind 170 of that was planned capital outlay. The next slide is a chart that shows the capital outlay plan for the Expo, which breaks down per line item what we spent in 2019 and 2020. In the years prior to that, it's in aggregate. It would just be too many pages otherwise. And again, there's a handout on all your desks. I know it's kind of hard to see up here on the monitor. The next slide is a graph that shows what the county board, the county board, have approved for capital spending at the Expo since we took over operations back in 2005 when it was run by Expo Incorporated. Some of you may recall that the county and Public Works took over the grounds back then because Incorporated had fallen on hard times and basically were bankrupt, and they were just unable to invest in the facility any longer. So from 2005 to 2015, what you're looking at is capital spending, and you can see there wasn't a lot. The Expo operates without tax levy subsidy, so basically what we spend is what we make. So if you have years where you're not making a lot of money, you have a lot of rain, you don't have good county fairs, there wasn't money to spend. Starting in 2017, though, we had the sale at the end of 2016 to Meyer of 26 acres of land, which garnered about $4 million. And so from 2017 through 2019, again, through the budget process, which was approved by you, the county board, we were very aggressive in getting the grounds reconfigured to work toward the future and also update many of the systems and buildings that were out there that hadn't had a chance to previously. You'll notice in 2020, which is the last of the dark blue bars, that the spending declined significantly as we've gotten caught up. The red bar on the graph is this year, 2021, and the yellow bars is looking out 2022 through 2025. Now the chart doesn't go out past 2025. In those out years, we should be at the point where the Expo will be profitable enough that just through operational funding, we can do the capital outlay that we choose to. We're over that big hump, so it should be smooth sailing for many years, and the land sale revenue fund won't have to carry that weight anymore. The next chart is a graph that shows the balance that's left in the land sale fund. The black line, vertical line, is where we'll be at the end of this year, which has about $1.7 million in the fund. What's significant about this graph is, again, you can see the aggressive spending we did in the first years, where we needed to get caught up on our infrastructure and our buildings and just to reconfigure the grounds after the sale. And the second thing is you can see how the spending now has slowed substantially since that big push. And again, at the end of the projected spending, we'll have still about $1.5 million in that fund for future generations to rely upon for what comes in the future. The last slide I have is where the fund allocations have gone, where the money's been spent. This is from 2016 through 2020. It does not include the $135,000 of spending this year that was in the budget for capital improvements. And I guess going through it, I'd like you to notice first, the largest piece of the pie is the remaining balance. That's in light blue. So we've spent over half of the land sale proceeds and still have $1.87 million left in the fund. And again, as I stated before, our large years of spending are over now. The next area to bring your attention to is site work. That's the area in purple. Those are things like the creation of the west parking lot and the new pulling track and special entertainment area. That was $500,000 in itself. We've spent over $315,000 in road reconstruction and asphalt replacement, $275,000 in the creation of the new east parking lot and main gate, and $150,000 for permanent bleachers in the special entertainment area. In the green section of the pie was replacement of existing buildings. As you'll probably recall, the Lester's building and the dairy cattle barn were condemned and had to be replaced. And we replaced both of those buildings for a combined cost of about $1 million, though we only had to expend $680,000 because the difference was made up by generous building sponsors, grants, and donations. Last year in 2020, we replaced ticket booths at the Ice Center, at the main gate and the Merchants Gate. And again, we had good partnerships with ACE Construction and Hammond Construction. And they donated toward those ticket booths, which saved us over half in the cost of building them. The next area I'd like to bring your attention to is in red, and that is in infrastructure, where we spent $311,000. Infrastructure are things like water laterals, electrical services, new fiber optics and Ethernet between buildings for internet, and HVAC equipment, lighting systems, things like that. The last area is building improvements. Those are the simple things like roof replacements, door replacements, re-siding of buildings, adding handicapped openers to buildings, replacing gutters, and purchasing new pens for the county fair. And that we spent $271,000. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on anything financial or capital-wise. Otherwise, I'll turn over the more entertaining part of the presentation to Janelle and Tanya and Lydia.
Any questions for Jerry at this time? All right, thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Well, my part is to talk about the county fair, a little bit more fun and exciting because this year is going to be bigger and better. My name is Janelle Shelton, and I'm the facility manager at the Manitowoc County Expo and Ice Center, and I've been here for about 14 years now, so celebrating it next month. The Expo Ice Center board actually, let's see, there we go. They took a great picture actually this last week. The Expo Ice Center board consists of 21 volunteer members, and that includes Kevin Banky, so thank you, Kevin, and Bob Kavanaugh, as well as Ken Sitkowitz, who is not here today. They do a great job. They attend monthly meetings. They participate in working groups. Their main responsibility, of course, is preparing for the county fair, but they give insight. We're working on a fencing project right now where we're going to be completing some permanent fence, and with some guidance from, for example, Dick Paulin, who is one of our working group members. We take that insight and do what's best for the expo grounds. And we're currently looking at actually filling 3 spots. We're looking for another Expo Ice Center board member, so if you know of anybody that would be interested, we're asking that they just either call the office or they can actually apply online. And if any of you are interested in volunteering this year, we're also seeking volunteers to help with at the Ag Adventureland, and I'm sure if you ask Kevin about that later, he can explain to you what all that entails, as well as our parking area and in the office doing some announcing. So if that's something that you would be interested in, definitely please let us know. Sorry. Oh, that's weird. Excuse me. My apologies. It's not going where I want it to. It'll be just a minute. Sorry. I know, Jerry, come back. Apparently I need your help. He did fine. That's because I'm doing pictures. All right, now we're back. Okay, so the fair dates are August 25th through the 29th. We have deadlines that are coming up. Junior Fair deadline is July 1st, and I've been sending out emails to remind all of the FFA clubs and as well as 4-H to let them know that that deadline is coming up, and then as well as open class, and that is actually July 15th. Our fair theme this year is Stars, Stripes, and Fair Delights. And then we're actually, we have some grandstand events that includes our fireworks show. I don't know if you've been to it before, but I'm a little partial. It's the best in Manitowoc County, and it is sponsored by Larry's Distributing, Nextera, and the Fireworks Country. So it's a big deal we're having this year. We're going to have a parade. It's going to lead us out. We're probably thinking about 8:45. Come out with Lincoln High School. They'll do the parade, and we'll come out, do the kickoff in the grandstand with that, and then have singing by Touch of Harmony, and then we'll have the fireworks. So I invite you all to come out. It's going to be a great day to celebrate the Manitowoc County Fair. The big thing that we're having this year is our Sea Lion show, and it's actually sponsored by Action Realty. So we'll have daily events with Wednesday, 2 shows that we'll have, and then 3 shows on Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday we'll have 4 shows, and then Sunday 3 shows again. And then at Ag Adventureland that I had already talked about before, we have sponsors, and they're Prevea and Festival Foods. So we're very fortunate on having our fair sponsors, and hopefully this time when I click on the picture I can get back to where I am. So there are some of our sponsors. Those are our major sponsors, and when I talk about major sponsors, those are people that are $1,000 and above. For example, Wednesday's sponsor, we have a Wednesday, and that's Seahafer Broadcasting. Saturday, we have Meyer, who is going to be that Saturday sponsor. So this year's sponsors, can you see them okay? Okay. This year's sponsors, we have more than what we've had in the past. I can see the community support, which is really important to us. And we're just, again, celebrating this year, and I think people see what a community event this is, and they're very supportive of it. And also, we're going to be with Seahafer Broadcasting, because they're one of our sponsors. Which is Lydia Lipke and myself, as well as Tanya will be at this next one, Tanya Dvorak. We're going to be on Be My Guest. So on Wednesday, June 23rd, listen in at 9:30, and we'll be airing that day. Okay, let's see if I can, I don't know why I did that. This is going so well. Thank you for your patience. Huh? It's not letting me get to my screen. Well then. My apologies. All right, well, I'm not going to click on the last picture just because I'm having some little minor malfunctions here for myself. But I do want to introduce, before introducing the fairest of the fair, Tanya Dvorak. She has been part of the Expo grounds for many years prior to myself. And then once I came on, she actually came on board as an Expo Ice Center board member. She's been an operations subcommittee member, and she has been a huge insight for myself, helped me when I first started, which again was 14 years ago, helped me to understand and learn a little bit. So without further ado, Tanya Dvorak, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So the little insight is I retired from the Manitowoc County Expo Incorporated in 2004, which then was the switchover. So I retired to be a stay-at-home mom and not run Expo and handed the reins over. So I've done Janelle's job for many years, so I have a great love for the fair. But first of all, yes, I do wear many hats. I am the subcommittee chair, but I also run the Wisconsin Fairest of the Fairs program for the state. So I create and coordinate the 5-day interview process for the state program. So I'm able to bring things back to Manitowoc County to help us continue to grow and continue to grow our Fairest of the Fair program. New this year, we are having the Fairest selection take place at the fair. What a great way to bring it back. We've tried doing other events, but we've realized as a board that we need to do it where the people are, and the people are at fair. So we're bringing it back to the fairgrounds this year, so we'll be doing that Saturday night, really continuing to keep ourselves relevant and moving forward and using that public relations role. Also, just on behalf of the board, I want to say thank you to you as supervisors and chairmen and everybody from the county level that gives the support to the fair. It's a group effort that we do, and we want to thank you for your participation as well. And on that final note, I want to give a great welcome to Lydia Litke, who's serving as our 2021 Manitowoc County Fairest of the Fair.
Thank you, Tanya. As you've heard, I'm Lydia Lipke, the 2021 Manitowoc County Fairest of the Fair. I would like to thank everyone here on this board tonight for their continued support of the fair. Fair holds a very special place in my heart. I began showing at the Manitowoc County Fair when I was 4 years old in the kiddie showmanship program, showing dairy calves, because I lived on a dairy farm in Kiel, Wisconsin. So that's what you do. You get out there and you show a calf, and it's wonderful. And then as I grew into my fair experience, I was a member of the Schleswig Cadets 4-H Club and Kiel FFA, showing market sheep and market hogs. So I'm very excited to serve as the Fairest of the Fair and excited to promote all the new events we're having this year, especially the Sea Lion Show, and competing against Chairman Bry in the cream puff eating contest. I'll try to beat you. I'm excited to try, I'm ready to shove a cream puff into my face. I've heard the trade secrets, so I've been practicing. So I would like to ask this board, do you have any special memories of the fair? None? Nobody? Oh, right there.
My youngest daughter's first encounter with calves and animals, she's about 3, and just completely amazed. So.
Yeah, that's what we really strive to do. This is sometimes the people's only chance to really interact with animals, and if we can give them that positive first experience, it's so valuable. I think I saw somebody over there.
Down at Citizen Park, I was in the Tannery Stars 4-H Club, and I remember being able to stay overnight in the barn with my horse, and we had a great time. And it was, I would hope that a lot of kids could experience that same thing, because it was really a great time.
Did I see somebody there?
I was in 4-H, going to the fair. We waited to go to the fair, so it's been something that we've done since we were small. But as girls, we could not bring dairy animals because we could not stay overnight. And I remember going to the fair when it was downtown. Yes, we could not.
Oh, no.
But part.
Supervisor Engelbrecht?
Yeah, I've been showing at the county fair, I guess, for 50 plus years. I was at the old fairgrounds downtown. I remember the tents in the mud when we moved out to Expo, pushing cars out of the parking lot and coming home brown. And then when the beautiful buildings were built. So I have some pretty good memories of that. So. we've come a long way.
I guess I'll have to chime in as well. Obviously, family memories a lot, and I still remember when the fairgrounds was up here, like 2 blocks away. But I guess one of my biggest memories, and I know we have the sheriff in the back there, but I think the statute of limitations have probably run out on this one. But no, I want to say it was about 1987, 88, but it was a Friday night. The fair was extremely packed. There was actually parking on the then racetrack infield. So leaving at 11 o'clock with no cars out there with my old Charger, I'm a Charger guy. As you know, I have a Dodge Charger now, and back then I had a Dodge Charger either too. Well, I took a couple laps around the racetrack, and that was fun hitting the straightaways at 60 miles an hour. But yeah, so that was my biggest memory. So yes.
So I'm glad to see that our fair holds a lot of strong ties and memories to people in our community. So I encourage you to please come on out to the fair this year. So I hope to see you all August 25th through the 29th for Stars, Stripes, and Fair Delights at your Manitowoc County Fair.
All right. Just have a little quick video for you as long as that works.
Dreaming of fresh churned ice cream, cotton candy, fresh cheese curds, and ice cold milk? You can get these delights and many more this year at the Manitowoc County Fair, August 25th to the 29th. General admission of $10 includes unlimited carnival rides, grandstand entertainment, parking, animal exhibits, and even a sea lion show. I'm Lydia Lipke, your 2021 Manitowoc County Fairest of the Fair, and I hope to see you August 25th to the 29th for Stars, Stripes, and Fair Delights at your Manitowoc County Fair.
Yeah. End up dropping something here. Well, I truly appreciate you allowing me and Tanya and Lydia and of course Jerry to present tonight about the Manitowoc County Expo and the Manitowoc County Fair. I look forward to seeing you all at this year's fair and just highlighting all of these and seeing you next year to talk about how we did this year as well as looking forward to the 2022 Manitowoc County Fair. So thank you very much.
And a big thank you to you, Jerry, Janelle, Tanya, excuse me, and Linda, too, is participating. Without the volunteers and the hard work and stuff, we wouldn't have a great expo and a fair that we have. So thank you. And we're all looking forward. We've been cooped up for a year. It's time to get on. We're doing it, but I can't wait till August when the fair happens. So thank you again. Next up is public comment. If there's anybody from the public wishing to speak to any matter germane to Manitowoc County government, please raise your hand. You can come up to the podium and you can speak approximately 3 minutes. Just give your name and address. We'll start with Patty here in the front.
This volume sounds okay. All right. My name is Patty Marquardt, and I live at 825 Jackson Street in the city of Manitowoc. I'm going to start by describing myself as a concerned, lifelong resident of Manitowoc County. I am here to speak against the county executive's nomination of Margaret Powles to the Manitowoc Public Library Board of Trustees. I've heard her speak on 2 occasions. She expresses concerns regarding the library promoting systematic racism, political ideology, privilege and power, and intersectionality. She and the group she spoke for appear to disfavor lifelong learning. A library promotes this. Aren't we fortunate? It certainly is a personal choice to partake or not. Do not take this opportunity away from those who wish to. And I want to speak to the word ideology. I have attended a county Republican Party meeting, Congressman Grothman Town Hall, and Paul Tittle and Devin Lemahieu listening sessions at the library. Do not censor the library. I see this as Ms. Powell's and her group's agenda, which has no place in an all-inclusive, informational, educational institution. Lastly, this quote recently crossed my path. Whatever the cost of our libraries, the price is cheap compared to that of an ignorant nation. Walter Cronkite. I am asking board members to vote no on this nomination, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments, Patty. Yes.
Mike Check, 9140 Hilltop Road, Cato, Wisconsin. I'm going to speak in regard to the Planning and Park Commission, item number 4, amending the zoning map for Soaring Eagle Dairy. A couple of points in regard to it. The selling of the parcel does not create any issue or hardship to the balance of the farmland adjacent to it. The Mike buyer Check, wishes to build 9140 one Hilltop Road, single-family Cato, residence on that parcel, and that's why we've asked for that zoning. The town of Manitowoc Rapids, in their land use plan, which was formed in 2002, created the entire, or designated the entire area south of Goodwin Road to be residential. We thought that the progression of development would move that way, and when the land was sold, Soaring Eagle changed it to exclusive ag to benefit their farming process. Another item is the Plan Commission in the city of Manitowoc has voted and approved to vacate, which I believe shows on your paperwork, Kellner Street running through this parcel. It'll be brought up before the city council next week, and I'm assuming that that's going to go through because it was passed by the Plan Commission. If anybody has any other questions in regard to that. If not, thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mike. Anybody else wishing to speak this evening? Hey, Maura?
Good evening, Chip Yost Newton. I continue to advocate for a half-cent on a dollar spent county-wide sales tax as the least expensive, most fiscally conservative way to meet our county's continuing and growing revenue needs. From 2017 to 2021, our county has borrowed $17.4 million in principal without interest. When the 2019-2020 principal borrowing of Resolution 58 of $9,800,000 is added in, the total principal borrowed during that time frame is $27.2 million. For the decade from 26 to 2016, our county's principal borrowing was $17.6 million. So the trend of principal borrowing is increasing, substantiating my statement that our county has growing revenue needs. Tonight you are being asked to approve borrowing another $1 million in principal. After consideration and attending yesterday's Finance Committee meeting, I support this because Finance Director Gutman negotiated a very modest interest rate of slightly more than 1% per year over 5 years, and because the loan with U.S. Bank can be paid off at any time. I hope you will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Maura. Anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Anyone else wishing to speak? And for a third and final time, anybody else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll declare public comment closed. Communications are shown on the agenda. There's no unfinished business from our last meeting, so we'll move on to appointments by the county executive. First up is for the Board of Adjustment to appoint 2 members to succeed Chuck Hoffman and Ralph Shue for a 3-year term expiring in July of 2024. And the recommendations are for Chuck Hoffman and Ralph Shue. Motion by Supervisor Engelbrecht, seconded by Supervisor Aulick. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. To the Kiel Public Library Board of Trustees to appoint 2 members to succeed Brian Murphy and David Stolting for a 3-year term expiring in July of 2024. And recommendations are for Brian Murphy and David Stolting. Motion by Supervisor Ballman, seconded by Supervisor Hagan to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Next, Manitowoc Public Library Board of Trustees to appoint 1 member to succeed Supervisor Nicholas Mink for a 3-year term expiring in April 30th of 2024, and the recommendation is for Margaret Powles. Motion by Supervisor Hagan, second by Supervisor Falkowski. Discussion on the nomination. We'll start with Supervisor Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A library should never under any circumstances be used to promote political ideology. That was said at our last county board meeting by the person that has been nominated for this post. I may be a strange person. I watched that meeting 3 times now to make sure that I was taking the comments of the candidate correctly, that I wasn't viewing it in a biased way. It shouldn't be used for political ideology, but that goes both ways. A library is a place where you go to gain knowledge. A library is a place where you can go to find information. A library is never stagnant. It changes all the time with the community that it's in. And if you look around this county, we are changing. I was at Lincoln High School's graduation last Friday. Close to 400 kids walked down the stairs to get a diploma. And as I was sitting there, I was thinking back to 1974, because I'm a fossil and I'm old. And in 1974, when they walked down the steps into the bowl for graduation, it was great. Skripinski, Skaransky, Sibneski, Herman, Zimmerman, Schultz, Schmidt, Hansen, Nelson, all kinds of German, Polish, Norwegian names. But it was better this time, because with the Hermans and the Schultzes and the Nelsons and the Hansens were the Lees and the Hangs and the Coos and the Rodriguez and the Gutierrez and the Hernandez. And as I watched those kids down, I saw kids of European descent, I saw kids of Asian descent, and I saw wonderful kids of African descent marching into the bowl together to get their diploma. We are changing as a community, and we need to learn about things. That doesn't mean that we change our programming at the library just because somebody does a presentation. But we need to learn. And when the Black Lives Matter Love Group came in and did a presentation at the library, they didn't change or redesign story time, as we were told. They may have given suggestions, but they didn't change it. They don't change the programming. But they gave information on how it might look to somebody from their perspective. Are we indoctrinating the staff? No. We're helping the staff because if somebody walks in and says, hey, I want to learn more about systematic racism, or I want to learn more about this or that, that staff member can show them where they can find it in the library. or give them examples of where to look it up on the internet so you're not looking up just your perspective or the opposite perspective. This is very hard for me to do. I've been on this board 20 years. I think I've voted for every nomination that the executive or the administrator has ever given us. And I find no pleasure in saying somebody doesn't deserve to be on a board. But I got a letter tonight here on my desk about professionalism, rational, and civility. Go back and watch the video, ladies and gentlemen. Go back and look how the truth was twisted to fit the narrative. The truth was twisted on what really happens. 400 trainings. There weren't 400 trainings at the library. I don't know. I don't have a receipt if the group got $1,000 for the training, but I'm going to tell you this as an educator who sent people to get trained around the state of Wisconsin. If they would have sent those people somewhere for the same kind of training, the same kind of knowledge gain that they got being at that presentation, it'd be a lot more than $1,000. A is for activism. Never happened at the library. It's not true. An indoctrination center. Indoctrination, yeah, I hear this all the time. I hear this, there's a presentation coming up about indoctrination in the schools. Ladies and gentlemen, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, part of the 80s, they indoctrinated people in Eastern Europe. Generation after generation after generation got indoctrinated with communism and how great it was. And what happened? They threw it out. Because people have a brain and people can take information and people can think. That's why we're a step above some of the other creatures on this planet, because we can think and make up our minds. I don't know. I can't even tell you what systematic racism is. I can't tell you what white supremacy is, intersectionality. I don't know if they exist. I know what everybody thinks about it based on what I can watch on one cable station or another cable station or read on this website or read on that website. But we need to find the truth, and people need to get information so they can make a choice. And I am not voting for this person tonight because I did not hear in the 3 times that I saw that video giving information to make a choice. I saw holding back information, being upset because things were discussed, not changed, discussed. Is that professional? Is that rational? Is that civil? That's where I am. I guess I have a timeout. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Hanson. Just for informational purposes, unless there's out of order things, there's no time limit on a speaker to speak, so that's the way it is. That's not in our rules. Next up, Supervisor Falkowski.
Boy, after that linguistic little twist, I need to compose a little bit. Apparently, it seems to me, and I'll be candid, Ms. Pauls is my constituent. Mr. Kavanaugh, or Supervisor Kavanaugh, and myself, we both share the township of Franklin. As a constituent, I will support her application and her candidacy for this, because when I remember I started on the board, I wasn't perfect. I made mistakes. I think people do, but an opportunity for someone to improve is what we're about, what we should be about. We shouldn't be embarking on these latitudes of things that kind of garnish a mindset that if it isn't conforming with an ordering system that a person believes is the way it should be, then everything should be opposed. And I honestly say that if you can't carve out an opportunity for somebody, if you do not have within your capacity to understand that people struggle through life finding out information by challenging errors, then maybe you don't give people credit for attempting to join a board or be participating in a township or in a county board. It must be really special to have all the answers to situations and have an ordering system that just can be imposed on everyone, and there's no subject that should oppose to that. And I find it to be kind of remarkable and actually sad, because we are trying to improve our county. We're trying to improve the people that we represent. But yet, if we don't find in our hearts to give them an opportunity to try, do people make mistakes? Sure. Are we going to vet everybody down to the smallest detail? Is that our job? Is that what we've done? Have we vetted everybody that we had given recommendations for anything? I doubt that. And at this situation, I think it's more, it's not that it's fomenting the divisions, but it's kind of amplifying the fact that you think that everything's so inclusive, but yet we're not inclusive to somebody who doesn't agree with us. That maybe it's different. Well, that's true. It is true that it is going to be different. But do they not need an opportunity to try, to change, to be better? Well, how do you do that when you cast them out and say, no, we don't like you. We don't really like your opinions. You must change. You must change. Well, I find it to be kind of repugnant. We are supposed to be helping our communities. There are people that are engaged in things that are unfamiliar to us. I mean, honestly, if you have not talked to constituents and you scratch your head saying, I don't get this, then it's unusual. I do that a lot, and I find out to be that it is the difference that makes me better. It is that change that actually took an opportunity to listen to somebody else differently and said, I'm going to let this run out. I'm going to see where this goes, because I find the betterments of people than to look for their detriments. Because honestly, if you don't have it in your heart to give a person a chance, then I suppose you will vote no to this. But honestly, from a standpoint, does she meet the criteria to be nominated? Yes. There is no criminality, there's absolutely nothing that discards this person's for nomination. None. If it's your opinion, that's a different game. Then you're imposing your opinions, your ordering systems. I don't find it to be very flattering. So from the standpoint, I fully support Ms. Pauls for the Manitowoc County Library Board, and I encourage you to confirm and to affirm the nominations. I reject these attempts for division. That is all.
Thank you, Supervisor Falcao. Just for an FYI to everybody, it's not the Manitowoc County Library, it's the Manitowoc Public Library. Just to make sure that everybody knows that. Supervisor Martel, you are next.
I don't see my request to speak, but I will be happy to speak.
Well, it was up on here, but Supervisor Ball, if you want to speak, you're up. I mean, mine was flashing up here. I know we had a problem the last time too. It was one up and down, so I'll let you speak.
Planned on speaking anyway. Actually, I guess I didn't plan on speaking because I've been involved in local government and paid attention to city and county meetings ever since I was 18 years old and ran for the Manitowoc City Council. And I have never seen an appointment to a board or a commission questioned or denied until tonight, when there's a woman up for nomination who speaks her mind. I met Ms. Powles like many of you did, through speaking about the library at our county board meetings during public input. She's been coming for about a year. As the Manitowoc county board representative on the Manitowoc Public Library Board of Trustees. I've gotten my share of an earful from Ms. Powell's, probably more than most. However, those earfuls and the things that she brings to attention are what has made me an effective representative on the Manitowoc Public Library Board of Trustees. I feel that to be qualified for a position on a board or a commission, the number one thing that you have to show is passion. And I can think of no resident in Manitowoc County who is more concerned, more passionate, and more involved than what is going on at the Manitowoc Public Library than Margaret Powell's. To speak to her qualification, she is a homeschool mom of 6. She uses the Manitowoc Public Library regularly. She's helped coordinate and plan programs at the library for other homeschool parents. And when the Manitowoc Public Library closed during the pandemic and was resistant to reopen, Margaret Powell's organized community members to write letters to me, to other public library board trustees, to help change their opinion to get the library open. So I firmly believe that Ms. Powell's was instrumental in getting the public library open. We've implemented some other of Ms. Powell's ideas, such as city email addresses for trustees, so that way their privacy could be protected, yet the public could interact with their representatives on the public library board. So as far as I'm concerned, the passion, commitment, and involvement is there. The qualification is there. If this is a matter of disagreement over her beliefs, I can tell you firsthand that the Manitowoc Public Library Board is infected with groupthink. I've been on the library board for a year, and until Mayor Nichols appointed City Council President Sakala, I was the only person who voted against anything at any meeting at any time. The only person to have a different opinion for the last year has been me. Now, I don't agree with Ms. Powell's on everything that she says, and I've told her that. And we have a respectful conversation that leads to greater understanding. You don't have to agree with what everybody says, but the Manitowoc Public Library Board of Trustees is desperate for diversity of thought. And I think Margaret Powell's will be a great asset, and I'd be honored to serve alongside her.
Thank you, Supervisor Martel. We're going to go to Supervisor Ballman because your light is flashing on Jessica's computer screen, but not on mine. Now, and just so I know, Supervisor Linsmeyer, are you wishing to speak? Okay, your light's flat.
But when you click Supervisor Ballman,
okay.
It ends up lighting up. I don't know.
All right, Supervisor Ballman, it's your turn.
Okay. This morning I made a phone call to County Executive Ziegelbauer. I've listened to Margaret like you have over the last year. I am on the Manitowoc-Calumet County Board. And we've discussed, yes.
Your mic once.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's on because I've got it clicked on.
It is? Hello? Okay. No. All right.
Okay. Well.
So anyway, Bob told me, he said he thinks she'd be a good match for this board. I had my reservations. I still have my reservations. I've discussed and emailed Margaret since the first time she spoke to the board. She's come over to the Kiel Public Library. She enjoyed it there. She took her kids across the footbridge into the Hingis Park. And when Leicester and Manitowoc were closed, I can't go along with her ideas. I've spoken with library personnel over the last 6 months about that because she does send letters to the Manitowoc-Calumet County Board, Library Board. So I'm sorry, I would 99% support anything that the executive thinks, but I can't do it this time.
Thank you, Supervisor Ballman. Supervisor Shimalonis, you are next.
Usually when I meet somebody that is unhappy with an organization or a committee, I tell them, why don't you get yourself on the board and tell them, because that's where the change would come from. I just think it's good to have diversity. Even when somebody disagrees, you never know that they might not change her mind, or maybe they'll like her. I'm just saying, that's it.
Thank you, Supervisor Shimalonis. Supervisor Aulick, you are next.
Nope. I'm good, Mr. Chair. I promise.
And it's interesting. Everybody's. I'm gonna reset this thing once and see what happens. I know Supervisor Giroll, you want to speak? And well, see, his name is not coming out. It's John. We're gonna have to do some. So I'm trying to reset this once. I'm gonna unclick everybody here. I'm gonna reset it. All right, I'll let Supervisor Hagan. You are next. Yep. Interesting. I don't know what
I am speaking up. Okay, there we
There
go.
you go.
No, there you go. See, you got to be loud. Okay, I got it. First of all, I'm going to take 3 seconds to congratulate my son, Jonathan Hagan, who just graduated this year from Two Rivers. In the Oxford Dictionary, the belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities, especially so as to distinguish them as inferior or superior to one another. That is what I just read in the Oxford Dictionary as one of the definitions of racism. When I walked down Washington Street, I saw banners hanging for all the high school students who graduated. And I saw American kids with an equal opportunity to make it in this country. I have looked into Mrs. Powell, and I don't see, as a person who is a heavy user of the library and hence experienced in the library operation from an end user perspective, and a person who has participated in the education of kids, I don't see any disqualifications. But I am very proud of the American kids who have graduated this year, both in Manitowoc, Two Rivers, and in the county. It's an accomplishment that should be heralded. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Hagan. Right now there's no one showing on my thing if anybody wants to speak. Does anybody want to speak yet? I know, you just keep coming up, but Supervisor Zimmer is on here. We'll go. All right, we'll go to Supervisor Zimmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a huge difference between a library being a repository for information, and it should be, and promoting an ideology. Had it not been for Margaret Powell's close attention to the goings-on at the Manitowoc Library, and she reads all the notes from the various meetings that the library director has, it never would have come to light that the library, in conjunction with an organization called Lakeshore United Visionaries, is promoting the ideology known as critical race theory. There isn't any question about it. And training in critical race theory has been going on in the library among the staff by representatives of LUV giving the training, and another organization that whose name I can't remember. Again, you ought to be able to go in a library and get Das Kapital. Frankly, you ought to be able to go in a library and get Mein Kampf by Hitler, because a library, to be effective, needs to have any kind of information that you want. And there probably should be information on what critical race theory is, pro and con. But to promote a specific ideology, as the library has been doing, is completely against and in contradiction to its mission. Let me give you an example. What if the pastor at St. Francis of Assisi set aside a room in which devotees of the John Birch Society would meet regularly and promote their ideology out of that room? What if those ideologues went to the Manitowoc Library and said, we want to set up training for your staff about the principles of the John Birch Society? How far do you think they would get? They'd be out the door in a flash. But not so with critical race theory, all right? LUV has been hired by the library, and I don't know how they're being paid, to conduct this training. I'll give you just one amazing example. And by the way, Kristen Stager's the one that mentioned the over 400 training sessions. That came off of the notes from her various meetings. So it wasn't made up by Margaret Powell's. Let me get back to my example of CRT, ideological training. Youth staff at the library, at the enthusiastic direction of Kristen Stager, have viewed a webinar on, quote, social justice and story times. It's a training video. It's created by Black Lives Matter. And it begins when the narrator, a young woman called Abby, wearing a Black Lives Matter sweater, explains how she loves doing preschool story time. She goes on to guiltily confess that she has white privilege. Of course, she never explains what her white privilege entails. She only says that this is just a fact. She goes on to explain why libraries cannot be neutral. Abby says, you may live in a small conservative community and not really be interested in this topic. Apparently, Abby knows how conservatives think. But she says, libraries cannot be neutral. There is a right side and a wrong side, she explains. And just to give those youth staffers a clear picture of what the right side is, next to her written narrative, there is an image of a black woman with a Black Lives Matter sign in her right hand and her left arm raised with a clenched fist. Abby's favorite storytime learning device, she says, is the inclusive alphabet, starting with A for activism. Other suggested examples include N for neurodiversity. Certainly, folks, that's a topic any parent should be eager to discuss with a 4-year-old. There are other even more bizarre examples, such as Z for Zer. Apparently that's some kind of woke pronoun that certain people use. How do you explain all this to a small child? I'm sure Abby has the answer. Now, if they're not promoting this critical race theory, starting with preschool kids, then why have this training of their youth staffers? I mean, I could go on. They had a Zoom program discussing white privilege, as if white privilege really exists. In their mind it does, but it may not be in our mind. So it's pure opinion. They have no right to be conducting this kind of ideological promotion out of our library. Again, if the library wants to have a shelf full of CRT materials, including books, etc., fine, that's one thing. But to promote this ideology, and that is exactly what they're doing, is completely wrong. In fact, it's horrifying when you think about it. So Ms. Powell's merely expressed her concern and her frustration with what's going on over there. It's about time, and Tyler alluded to this earlier, it's about time that we had more people on that library board who raised their hands and asked questions. Why are you doing this? What purpose does it serve? And how much does it cost? Systemic racism, and it's not systematic racism, as many people mistakenly call it. Systemic racism is the primary theory of critical race theory. It says that our society, the United States of America, was created, nurtured, and promoted as a society for white people only, and that systemic racism continues to exist today. Does anybody believe that?
Supervisor Zimmer, I've been informed by the Corp Council now you're starting to go away from the nomination. I certainly respect your opinions and your thoughts, but you're starting to sway away from the nomination process. So.
All right. Ms. Powell's mentioned the systemic racism that's being taught at the library, and that's why she earned the ire of the library staff. That's what this is all about. They don't want somebody on that library board who is going to go against the grain. That's the last thing they want. And so Margaret Powell's has no business on the library board because it's going to adversely affect their real intentions, and that's to spread a false ideology.
Were you through, Supervisor Zimmer? You're done? Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Supervisor Giroux, I'm going to give you your marks. Do you want to speak or not?
Thank you.
All right, you're all set.
Yes. The times that I've seen Margaret Powell's at the board, I thought she did a very good job. And she's a parent, homeschools, uses the library. I always thought she was pretty eloquent and well-spoken at these events. She obviously cares about the library. The fact that tax base from outside, in the towns supports that. She would be a representative of that. And I don't see any reason why either the library staff or any of the other trustees should have any fear of her on this board. I agree with Supervisor Martel. Those many of these groups, they get this collective thought, and you kind of go along to get along, and it develops more and more. And I think that she would actually be very good for this board and might provide some diversity of thought that hasn't existed for a while. And I agree with Supervisor Falkowski. I mean, we're not all perfect. We don't always come up with the same thing. We say things that we might regret, or change our mind, all of those things. But I have never, in my many years on this board and in the City Council of Manitowoc, which I served before this, the mayor, the executive, this is their appointments, and I see absolutely no reason why she isn't worthy of a shot on serving on this board at all. And I kind of give her credit for willing to step up and do this, because I don't think she's going to be all that well received to begin with. So, there's a certain amount of bravery required in this. So I will support her, and I hope she gets approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Giroux. Supervisor Mink, you were next.
I promise to be really quick about this. Initially, when I was selected for the library board, I was very excited. My degree is in history, so I spent years and years in libraries, just reading history, reading economics, and just absolutely loving that. I was a graduate of Lawrence University, where I attended a liberal arts college, mostly because I could wrestle. With that, and I had a GI Bill to pay for it. And with that, I was always tested in critical thinking skills, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I attended 2 meetings, and then sadly I am not allowed to serve on the board, being that I would be a second member of the county board on that board. Through those 2 meetings, though, Tyler was putting up the good fight. Supervisor Martel was putting up the good fight. He was a lone voice there. A lot of things I agreed with Supervisor Martel was opening up the library. My son's going to be up here this summer. We can't get there during the week. We could use Sunday open. The library is an important thing that we put tons of tax dollars into, yet we're limiting hours. And so whatever we can do to help to get those hours open is what I was looking at. Hence, when it was brought up access to vaccinations as being a reason not to go back to normal hours, I sit on the Board of Health. I reached out to the president of the library board, and I'm seeming a little frustrated right now, and asked, do you need help with this? I will contact the Board of Health, much like I just did with a brat fry to get people vaccinated, and we will bring nurses directly to the library and get everyone vaccinated. I was told, no, we're okay. And the very next meeting I went to, they brought it up again. Needs for vaccines. Now, that wasn't the only reason they didn't want to go back to regular hours, but it seemed like a big sticking point. If we have a solution to the problem, let's do that. So that was a little bit frustrated. So hats off to Margaret for taking this task on. I don't really know her super well, but I don't know how well received she'll be, and there is a bit of groupthink. I think that's exactly how I saw it for those 2 meetings when I was over there. So she's got quite a bit of bravery, and hats off to you, Martel, as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Mink. Any other comments or discussion? I don't see any lights, but that doesn't mean anything. So, Supervisor Zimmer.
Margaret Powell's is not an ideologue. She wants a neutral library devoid of ideological perspective. Margaret is the epitome of politeness and courtesy. I believe that if Ms. Stager, the library's director, were here, she would agree with what I said. Margaret has expressed her opinions to Ms. Stager, but she has never done so in a mean, nasty, argumentative fashion. It's always been with the utmost politeness, because I've seen some of the documents, letters that she has written to Ms. Stager. Just one thing to show you how interested she is in libraries in general, because she uses the Two Rivers Library in addition to the Manitowoc Library for her 6 kids who she's homeschooling. She went to the city council meeting at Two Rivers, I think it was in early April, and she asked at public input, why is the Two Rivers Library still closed? And to her surprise, at least one of the city council members, Adam Wachowski, expressed that he didn't even know the library was closed, and then he asked why we're paying these employees at the library if the library's closed. Well, soon thereafter, within days, I guess, the library director announced that they were going to open the library at long last. So she was courageous enough to go to the city council by herself and ask that question, which resulted with an earlier opening of that library than would have happened. She's a brave person. She questions, and that is exactly why her opponents at the Manitowoc Library want no part of her. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Zimmer. I think Supervisor Hagan is next. You got a different light on, but we'll let you speak.
Thank you, Chairman. My wife virtual schooled and homeschooled 4 of our kids. It's not an easy task to do, to keep them on track and so forth. It takes leadership, it takes dedication, and it takes a command of the information. I can't think of a better set of qualities for somebody who wants to work and serve on the library trustee board. So I will be voting in favor of her, and I will be closing with one simple question. Do we actually need to start investigating our library and disciplinary issues we're having within?
All right, Supervisor Henriksen, you are next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I'm on the Leicester Public Library Board. The library was never closed. If you wanted books, you went through the outside, you contacted the library, whatever books you wanted, you would pick up through a drive-through. You could bring your books back through the drive-through. The only thing that wasn't open was the lobby. The Traverse Public Library was never closed. We still conducted business. Homeschool people came, got their orders in, they picked up their books, they dropped them off. So just to clarify a point, the Traverse Public Library was never closed. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Supervisor Henriksen. Supervisor Metzger, you are next.
I think she was very negative when she spoke here at the county board. And I think that Kristen and the rest of the board is doing a good job. Out in the community, everybody says the library is wonderful. And I think that it's going to be a long 3 years if she gets in. I hate to be a little negative on it, but I think that we need someone a little bit more positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Metzger. Any other discussion on the nomination? I don't see any lights. All right. We're not going to have the ability to do a roll call vote, but I will ask if I determine that I can't determine if it was, but I'll ask for the vote. So all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Will the nays raise their hands? Supervisors Vogt, Bowman, Metzger, Wagner, Linsmeyer, Nichols, Aulick, Henriksen, Hansen, and Bry. 9 votes. So the nomination passes 14-9. The other 14 vote obviously voted yes, so that nomination passes. Next up, Northeast Wisconsin Regional Economic Partnership to appoint 3 members to succeed Adam Tagan, alternate Dan Politsky, and alternate Peter Wills for a 1-year term expiring July of 2022. And recommendation is for Dan Politsky as the normal member. The alternates would be Jamie Zastro and Adam Tagan. Motion by Supervisor Aulick, second by Supervisor Mink to approve those appointments. Any discussion? See none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Planning and Park Commission to appoint 1 member to succeed Supervisor Don Zimmer for a 7-year term expiring in July of 2028, and the recommendation is for Supervisor Zimmer. Motion by Supervisor Aulick, second by Supervisor Dyzak. Discussion on the motion? See none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried, and the nominations or the appointments have been approved. We're going to move on to committee reports. First up is Aging and Disability Board. Supervisor Wagner is the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Bryan. Our next meeting will be in Kewaunee County, July 27th at 10 a.m. And this is an announcement from Kathy Lee. She has told the ADRC board that she is going to retire. So we were very surprised on that. Replacement will be announced at the July meeting for the county board. That's the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Wagner? Thank you very much. Board of Health, Supervisor Metzger is the chair.
COVID-19 update. Cases remain low with a continued monthly drop in cases. For the month of April, confirmed cases counts were 142, with May having 127. The county continues to administer the vaccines at mobile clinics. The health department successfully administered 64 vaccines at the Manitowoc Farmers Market in May. They think it's because it's more convenient. That's why they're getting those. Some of the businesses are now giving an incentive so that they would get the shots. Then for the rest of the disease report, chlamydia cases are down 10 cases compared to 34 in April. 1 TB case was reported in the month of April. Health Department has purchased the rapid HCV and HIV testing kits that will allow the department to go mobile and go into the community more to screen clients. They also will get the results earlier, which will mean less cases. WIC report, the caseload for May was 906 participants and 537 families. The contracted caseload is 1,067. The farmers market also is open for the WIC people right now, starting June 1st. Each one will get $30 to use. We will not have a meeting in July unless if something important comes up. Our next meeting will be August 12th at 5 p.m. at the Health Department. That is the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Metzger? Thank you. Oh, Supervisor Mink.
It's not so much just a question. I just want to say a big shout out to the Board of Health. They've been doing great stuff. They have been going out, not just bringing people in to get vaccinated, but reaching out to our constituents, going to the farmers market. We hosted a broad fry in Whitelaw where nurses showed up and gave out 13 shots there. They also go to businesses, churches, and are really bringing the shots to the people. We are just reached about 46% of the county receiving vaccinations, at least their first shot. So sorry I don't want to extend this meeting any longer. Just want to give them a shout out.
You're fine. Thank you, Supervisor Mink. Any other questions, comments for Supervisor Metzger? Thank you very much. Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, Supervisor Falkowski is our representative there.
No report for tonight.
Any questions for Supervisor Falkowski? Thank you very much. Executive Committee, just two quick ones. As I mentioned last month, I'd like to see if we can get our picture of the county board. I was potentially going to do it in July. I know Supervisor Marsh is not going to be there, so just get on your calendars. Hopefully in August we'll do that at our county board meeting. I think if nobody feels uncomfortable with it, we can do it right here like we have in the past. Otherwise, I was thinking last month when we were doing it by the courthouse. But so keep that in mind. We're going to probably do it. I'll have to get a hold of Mr. Can't think of. I know it's Tom. Yes, it's what's her name's my husband. But anyways, Michael Thomas, the photographer, I'll get a hold of him because I did talk to him at the Manitowoc Common Council meeting when he took our picture there. So we'll look at that for August. And one last thing, the city of Manitowoc has a 4th of July parade. As you know, we did some for the Memorial Day parade. If anybody's wishing to do anything for the county, for the city of Manitowoc, 4th of July parade, the deadline is Sunday, June 27th at midnight to register. I'll send you the email, Bob. I'm not sure you got this about this if you want to participate, but from my standpoint, I'm going to participate with the Common Council. So if anybody wants to do something, let me know, and we can certainly register, and we can do something doing from the county or the county board. That's all I have at this time. Any questions? Thank you. Ex-Vice Center Board. Supervisor Kavanaugh is our representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Vice Center Board met Wednesday, June 9th. We discussed the Fairest of the Fair competition, which Tanya Dvorak referred to tonight. It'll be on Saturday this year instead of having it during the week at a different time other than the fair. So this year it's going to be right during Fair Week. Also, we discussed the Ladies' Day program, which is something new. This is going to be held on Saturday also. They're going to have various speakers come in. They're going to have a farm-to-table presentation. And Mayor Nichols and our own county board chairman, we were told, will be the MCs. We approved a request by the 4-H kids to have a silent auction during the fair. 4 members volunteered to be judges for the Billboard competition for the 4-H kids. This is where the billboards are put out at various locations through the county, promoting the fair, and then they give prizes to the ones that have done the better job. Also, we got volunteers that helped out volunteered to help out at the breakfast on the farm, and this turned out to be probably one of the best breakfasts on the farm I think maybe Manitowoc County ever had. I talked to one of the family members at 11:30, and they said they already had 4,800 people that had come through. Then I checked with them when it was all over, and they said definitely we went over 5,000 people. So I don't know if that happened before, but it very, very good. I guess everybody was real anxious to get out, so hopefully the fair will be the same thing. Also, I know the last time, and again, events are starting to come back at the fair or for Expo, but it's kind of slow. And our next meeting then will be Wednesday, July 14th. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Kavanaugh? Thank you very much. Finance Committee, Supervisor Hanson is the chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. A couple things tonight, as they say. We discussed the ARPA money that the federal government is sending out. I believe they've sent us $7.5 million that is in a location. We're making interest on it, and they will be sending us another $7.5 million. Sounds great, but there are many strings attached to that money on what you can spend it on. If you got the document, I believe the executive sent it all to us on how that money can be spent. I went through it and I typed in eligible uses on the find, and then it came up with different things you could spend that money on. We have captured what we can as far as reimbursing expenses with the health department and getting vaccinations out there. There are some interesting things JJ let us in on last night that might be able to help us. Some of that is losses at Expo. From last year, we might be able to help out there, and also at the airport. County run things that lost money. According to JJ, we might be able to get some of the money back from that that 15 million total. Discussion also came up with that money about loaning that to businesses. There seems to be people out there that say that we can give them money. The problem is there are no, lack of a better term, definitions yet on how we can do that. So the idea is out there that you could loan this money to business, help them in some way, but the government hasn't sent along any recommendations on how we can do that. And knowing how things are going in Washington right now, I wouldn't expect that in the near future. But again, the good news is Expo maybe, and the airport maybe we can retrieve some of those funds for losses there. The other idea is I think the executive is looking at, there is some things that we might be able to do, according to JJ, with different, you can't build roads with this money. It'd be nice if you could, and then we wouldn't have to borrow that million, but you can't do that. But there are other projects you can do to maybe make water cleaner, water better within the county, and there might be some things we can spend that way. Things that improve health of people in your area are things you can spend that money on. So give the executive credit. He is talking to different municipalities and people and see if there's things we can work together on in that case. So that brings us to our action tonight. We'll keep you updated on the ARPA, our resolution tonight for the $1 million. It's getting the loan from U.S. Bank. It's at a 1.9% interest. It's a great deal. I will motion to approve that resolution, Mr. Chair.
So motion by Supervisor Hanson, second by Supervisor Aulick to adopt the resolution. Discussion on the motion. See none? Oh, I'm sorry, Supervisor Williams.
Biff, I think it's 1.09, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, 1.09. Yep. A little dyslexic sitting here tonight.
Million here, million there.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification, Supervisor Williams. Any other discussion on the motion? Just that the interest rate is essentially phenomenal.
Yes.
Supervisor Hagan.
Just for public consumption, currently with our current inflation rates at a 1.09% interest rate with the future value of the dollar included, we're actually in effect earning money with this loan.
Correct, and the other nice thing is we can pay this off anytime. So.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of $1 million general obligation promissory note.
Resolution passed 23-0. Thank you. Anything else, Supervisor Hanson?
Just that we meet the second Monday of the month. We changed our location to the administration building downtown, and our new time is back to 4:30. You are all welcome.
Any questions for Supervisor Hanson? Thank you very much. Highway Committee, Supervisor Benke is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did not meet for the month of June, but Supervisor Volk and I attended the summer road school for the highway, and some of the highlights of the conference, Rebecca Burkle from Wisconsin DOT talked a lot about how the pandemic affected the DOT statewide as to transportation. We attended some technology sessions. One of them was new centerline and the joints of centerline road construction and how to seal those center lines, and putting some emphasis on that. We don't want water to get through those cracks, get underneath the asphalt and become a problem. So we had some technology education as well. Also, the Secretary of Transportation, Craig Thompson, spoke. We are fortunate to have an individual that was tied to the Wisconsin Counties Association for many years, who is now the Secretary of Transportation and really has the backs of counties when it comes to transportation in the state of Wisconsin. Our next meeting will be July 13th, and that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Supervisor Benke? Thank you very much. Human Services Board, Supervisor Henriksen is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met Thursday, May 27th. Our education topic was Substance Abuse Prevention Program. Annie Short, Director of Northeast Wisconsin Area Health Education Center. Annie introduced herself, passed out information, said thank you for the county prevention dollars. They are well spent. The past year, the main focus was to reduce access to alcohol and drugs to youth. Before COVID, there was a huge surge in vape products, even youth using in school. We'd like to see if that has continued. With the COVID, we couldn't do as much in person as we planned. The past year, we did a small talk media campaign, trying to support parents to make sure that the kids don't have unsupervised access to alcohol. Our Facebook page has 700 members. We had 2 billboards and also had ads on streaming services and direct mailing to targets. A Dose of Reality campaign started a few years ago and was geared towards older people to lock up their meds. This year we tried to reach more people and handed out Dose RX packs and information on drop boxes at food distribution sites and Meals on Wheels. We received state money, and 2 years ago stated disposal kits and lock boxes to nursing homes. Also feel doctors' offices are doing a much better job in the last couple of years on giving out information on getting not addicted. Basically what these packets do, you got all your unwanted meds, you put the drugs in there, add a little water, and it makes them harmless. In the financial statistic reports through April, the biggest growth is in the number of kids in out-of-home care. We don't have enough foster homes. We do use some group homes out of the county. We're adding positions in CCS as we have 59 kids on a wait list. The state requires no waits for children's waiver program. Our next meeting of the Human Services Department will be held on Thursday, June 24th at 4:45 p.m. This meeting will be held at the 8th Street building. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Supervisor Henriksen? Thank you very much. Conservation Committee, UW Extension, Education, and Agricultural Committee. Supervisor Wagner is the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Bryan. It was announced that Soil and Water are taking advantage of a Department of Agricultural Trade and Consumer Protection Innovation Grant. The grant will be to help cost share with landowners to install harvestable buffers along streams and lakes, interseed alfalfa into corn silage to provide soil cover after the crop has been harvested, and repair tile line blowouts to reduce nutrient discharges to lakes and streams from crop fields. The next meeting for the land conservation will be July 15th, next month. The UW Extension Education and Ag Committee will have a meeting this Thursday, the 17th, at 4:30 at the County Office Complex. That's the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Wagner? Thank you very much. Personnel Committee, Supervisor Morris is the chair.
Thank you. The Personnel Committee met on June 1st. One of the things we talked about was the decision to proceed with contracting with UW Extension for a full-time dairy educator that will be entirely paid for by Manitowoc County. The committee will find out more about this on our August meeting, but we're going ahead and about trying to get our own educator. The county executive salary for the 2022 to 2026 term was discussed. This item was placed will be carried over onto the August meeting. Just as a reminder, the salary is for the position, not the person. The county board salary also was discussed, and at this moment, there no change was talked about. The next meeting of the Personnel Committee will be held August 3rd at 4:15 at the Administrative Office Building. That so ends my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Marish? Thank you very much. Planning and Park Commissions. Vice Chair Supervisor Zimmer is going to give the report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All of the following amendment requests were considered by the Planning and Park Commission at its May 24th, 2021 meeting. Resolution number 2 involves a request by Timothy and Miriam Crystal for a zoning ordinance amendment pertaining to a 20-acre parcel of their land in the town of Maple Grove to be rezoned from exclusive agriculture to general agriculture. The Planning and Park Commission considered and approved that request. Therefore, I hereby make a motion that the County Board approve this zoning amendment request.
Motion by Supervisor Zimmer, second by Supervisor Hagan. Discussion on the motion? See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the ordinance amending zoning map for Timothy and Mariah Crystal.
Yes, I'll look at that. Okay. So the ordinance passes 23-0.
Continuing, Mr. Chairman, Resolution 3 involves a request by Brett Fisher for a zoning ordinance amendment pertaining to his property in Manitowoc, excuse me, in Manitowoc Rapids to be rezoned from exclusive agriculture to rural residential district. The property in question is approximately 2 acres. The Planning and Park Commission considered and approved this request. Therefore, I hereby make a motion that the County Board approve this zoning amendment request.
So motion by Supervisor Zimmer, second by Supervisor Dizak. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the ordinance amending zoning map for Brett Fisher.
Supervisor, there we go. Ordinance passes 23-0.
Resolution number 4 involves a request by Soaring Eagle Dairy, LLC, for a zoning ordinance amendment pertaining to 9.83 acres of their land in Manitowoc Rapids to be rezoned from exclusive agriculture to large residential district. The Planning and Park Commission considered and approved this request. Therefore, I hereby make a motion that the county board approve this zoning amendment request.
So motion by Supervisor Zimmer, second by Supervisor Williams. Discussion on the motion. See none, all of your, I'm sorry. The clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the ordinance amending zoning map for Soaring Eagle Dairy LLC.
Okay, Supervisor Zimmer.
I didn't vote?
That's all right. Try once again.
Sorry.
Here we go. That's all right. 23. Ordinance passes 23-0. Gentlemen, thanks for being patient out in the audience. I know it was a little strong process, but congratulations. Good luck, and I think you'll be fine, but thank you.
Resolution number 5 involves a request by the Woodland Dunes Nature Center for a zoning ordinance amendment to a 5-acre tract of their land to be rezoned from an industrial district to a natural area. The Planning and Park Commission considered and approved this request. Therefore, I hereby make a motion that the county board approve this zoning amendment request.
So motion by Supervisor Zimmer, second by Supervisor Falkowski. Discussion on the motion. See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the ordinance amending zoning map for Woodland Dunes Nature Center.
Supervisor Zimmer. There we go. Ordinance passes 23-0.
Finally, Mr. Chairman, resolution number 6 concerns a resolution to amend the Manitowoc County Code, Chapter 8, which pertains to shipping containers. After careful consideration, the Planning and Park Commission recommends that Chapter 8 of the County Code be amended to address the placement of shipping containers in the county. The details of the proposed amendment, designed to keep shipping container policies current, to reflect current practice, and to address new issues and circumstances, are found in the resolution, which has been provided to each county supervisor. Therefore, I make a motion to approve this resolution amending Chapter 8 of the County Code.
So motion by Supervisor Zimmer, second by Supervisor Dizak to adopt the ordinance. Any discussion on the motion? See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the ordinance amending Manitowoc County Code, Chapter 8, shipping containers.
Ordinance passes 23-0.
Mr. Chairman, the next meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission is 28 June at 4 p.m. 28 June.
Thank you. Any questions for Supervisor Zimmer? Thank you very much. Public Safety Committee, Supervisor Nichols is the chair.
Thank you. The Public Safety Committee met on Wednesday, June 9th. We received a report from Coroner Curtis Green on the 2019, 20, and 21 statistics. There were 872 total deaths for 2020. This was not an unusual number for him. One of the challenges, though, for the coroner has been that since 2020, since about July of 2020, there's been pressure put on his office and on doctors to change death certificates so that they don't reflect the COVID diagnosis. Of course, he refuses to do that, but just made us aware of that. One of the issues, though, that continues to be a problem is drug overdose deaths. There's a rather high cost to do autopsies for those when that's needed. They can't always do toxicology tests, and that's a cost that has a negative effect on his budget. One of the things, though, that has a positive effect on his budget is the number of cremations that are being done, because they have to do examinations on those, and that brings revenue in. So if you're, having any plans, it does help the taxpayers, just so you know. Anyways, so he did give us a lot of statistics, and if anybody wants that, you can get those from him, and I've got those. But there isn't anything unusual other than the number of drug-related deaths, and that continues to be a problem. And I'll bring that up a little later with the Sheriff's Department. We also had a presentation from our Emergency Services Director, Travis Walk. There have been some concerns raised by some of our county emergency providers regarding the number of resignations in the department. And so I asked Director Walk to address that for us. He indicated that they're working hard to replace those positions. There are 3 supervisors that are filling some of the shifts. He didn't feel that it was affecting or having a negative impact on public safety. But as you know, I did ask him to do a better job of reducing the conflict that seems to occur with the emergency services that are in our county. And obviously with the number of resignations that he has and vacancies to fill, that's not something that's going to be corrected in the short term, but he felt that they will be able to come back to full staffing within several months. So again, that'll continue to be addressed, those issues, and hopefully there can be a reasonable resolution to that. Also, Sheriff Hartwig gave a report. There was less revenue due to civil processes not being done in person and an increase in extradition costs. They're looking at purchase of squad cameras. He did indicate that there's a fairly high cost that it's not the cameras itself, it's the technology that goes with it. But they're working on that. He thanked the committee for allowing him to use the state purchasing system for the vehicles. Also, overtime right now is under control. Summer, though, usually results in higher costs. State inmates are being held longer, and money's not coming in a timely fashion. So he's making an effort to get that back pay for that. And as I said with the coroner drug unit, there's a lot of serious issues with drugs. I mean, I don't think that's any surprise to anybody, but that obviously it's a high cost to us in dollars, but there's also a lot of residual effects. A lot of things are going really well over there, though. I think the sheriff's doing a great job. We then went over to the jail for the annual jail inspection. He released all of us, which was a good thing. And other than that, and if anybody has any questions, I can answer the ones that I know the answers to.
Any questions for Supervisor Nichols?
Our next meeting is scheduled for September 8th, unless we need to meet prior to that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Public Works Committee, Supervisor Giroux is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As there was no meeting, there is no report. Thank you.
Any quick questions for Supervisor Giroux? Thank you very much. Transportation and Coordinating Committee, no report. So Supervisor Baumann. So that's all I have, because, you know, the announcements, like I said, keep that in mind. Hopefully we'll be able to set up the county board photo, obviously with staff and county executive Ziegelbauer as well, invited for August. We'll keep that in mind. If anybody wants to participate in the Manitowoc July 4th of July parade, our country's birthday, let me know and we'll set something up. Other than that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn. Motion by Supervisor Giroux, second by Supervisor Baumann. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a safe trip home.